Hey yo, episode 3 of the Swipe Effect. Welcome. I wanted to let you guys know I actually decided to call this episode Mind the Gap. You'll get it as you keep on listening, but if you want to know a bit of an explanation on it right now, I, I kind of felt it was important to discuss the generational gap in those that use dating apps and how and why and where they decided or whatever, or for whatever reason that they're actually using dating apps. Because obviously, as any of you know who use, like, you can set your age radius, you can set your distance radius, you can set your god, you can set any of your preferences, which is so kind of creepy, but also pretty cool for a lot of people who want to meet someone exactly the way they want to meet them. So, episode 3, mind the gap, that big generational gap. I am 30, as you guys know, 30s. But anyways, I've got a really, really, really awesome gentleman with me. His name is Brandon Booth. He is not in his 30s. He is actually hovering around early 20s, almost mid 20s. He's 24. I got to talking to Brandon's last name is Booth, so I think for the episode we're going to refer to him as Booth, just to make him a little bit different from another Brandon, because everyone seems to be named Brandon. So I was chatting to Booth the other day, and I know that Booth uses, and I had a whole bunch of questions for him. Not questions, but more like, oh, first of all, say hi.
How's it going? Excited to be here.
Are you?
Yeah, it's going to be
We're
pretty
happy
fun.
to have you. So we'll get him to open up. But anyways, I was talking to you. God, we've talked a lot about this, actually.
Yeah.
So probably ages ago. And you told me a few things. First of all, Booth just moved to the city of Toronto. He is born and raised in Markham.
Born and raised in Markham, yeah. I moved to Liberty Village about just over a month ago now, actually.
Which typically, if you're from Toronto or you know Toronto, Liberty Village is a really, really bumpin' spot in our city, especially for the early to mid 20s to about mid 30s.
Yeah.
Before, so like everything's happening, all the restaurants are cool, there's tons of people, there's all the stadiums.
We like to refer to it as College 2.0 because everybody is just a bit older but actually has money because they work now.
Okay.
So it's the same kind of feel where I live, it seems.
Okay, an amplified version of college. Actually, you know what? Most of my friends who have been living there for the past, I don't know, 3-4 years, some a lot who still do, they'd probably agree with you on that.
Yeah.
100%. And I every time I go downtown, I end up in Liberty Village somehow. So, Booth, you just moved to Liberty Village. You are single.
Yes.
So, first things first. Actually, I don't even think I've asked you this before. How long have you been on Tinder? You don't use all dating apps, correct?
No, just Tinder and more recently Bumble, I would say.
Okay, so actively on Tinder,
Yeah.
more recently Bumble.
I got on Tinder, I would say, probably early December from what I can remember.
Sorry, this past December? Okay,
So
so
we're
not very
talking
long.
7 months, maybe just over 7 months,
Oh
I
my
think.
God, okay.
Yeah, so actually a lot shorter than a lot of people
You're a
seem
lot
to be using.
newer than I thought that you were, actually.
Yeah, it's what so I ended a relationship of almost 3 years in November.
Okay.
There was obviously a month gap there where I was just kind of like dealing with it and whatever, and then
Trying to figure it out.
yeah, and then as soon as I remember just kind of being like, well, everyone seems to be on it. This could be fun. I'm single. I kind of feel like I needed to make up for lost time, so to speak. So I thought Tinder was a good idea. It's
Definitely.
hugely popular amongst my friends.
Yeah, so
Especially
you
we're
guys are all
around
on.
the same age group, right?
Do you hide it from each other, or do you talk about
Oh
things
no,
you see on it?
it's often spoken about.
Hey, I
There's
love
stories
that.
exchanged all the time. Daily. I would say daily there's a Tinder story or a Tinder like situation or
Love it.
someone who goes, oh, this girl's actually kind of cool, and then it's funny to just see it like a week later. Hey man, so what happened with that girl? It was kind of cool. Oh, it just fizzled out.
So like 100% from my experience right now, and obviously to the friends of mine that fall into my generation, that there's a huge difference between yours and mine, that you guys publicly shame none of it. Well, you shame parts of it. You don't shame each other in any way.
No.
It's like a fun thing that you guys are all doing. Yet, for some reason, my friends sometimes, and some people that I know, like, they don't really want to be saying that that's what they're doing, and I again from episode 1, wanted to break that stigma to be like, why? We could be having just as much fun as you guys.
Yeah, totally. And I've gotten
Although,
that too.
question, are you on it to meet a wife?
Not on it to meet a wife.
Negatory.
Definitely not. And I say
Okay.
definitely not, but I guess there's always that small chance that someone happens to be that cool.
So
But
you
no,
haven't
I'm
shut that
definitely
door
not.
completely?
No, I don't think, and I think people who say that they have are kind of lying, but it's definitely not my mindset when I swipe on Tinder. I'm not going like, oh, I could see myself with this girl. I could see. It's just not. I'm thinking
not your
about like the
priority.
here and now, not the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can happen when that is your take and your, not your take, but like this is what you, how you enjoy using your dating apps? My generation tends to label you guys as like sluts.
Yeah, and I don't think
Like,
it's
not to
it's
slut shame in
yeah.
any way, but
I
like,
see what you're saying. Yeah.
can you, like, we get very like, oh no, we're quick to judge, like, oh no, I'm sure he's just on Tinder because he just wants to hook up. That is always like the number one complaint, I would say, from the female demographic, mid 20s to mid 30s. I think we get pegged with like, oh, she's crazy because she wants to be in a serious relationship. That double standard
Yeah.
that kind of just flies all over the place, and it isn't fair to either of us because I know you, having told me that you aren't thinking future, you're thinking here and now, which is very different from a lot of people that I
Mhm.
know. Great perspective though. Do you consider yourself promiscuous, or do you think you're just somewhat pegged too quickly in that sense? If you were to tell a girl that you met that you are just interested in the here and now and not 5 years down the road or what's coming up next?
It's funny because I'll never just say to a girl, nor because it's not my personality. The second we match or the first thing we say, I won't just be like, hey, so like, do you want to hook up? Like that can't be done. I don't understand how that's ever gonna work for anybody ever. But what I do like about Tinder is that you can be straight up, and I'll just tell her, yeah, like I'd like to grab drinks, go hang out, go from there, whatever. And generally when you say that, because that's the honest truth,
Yeah.
they're pretty cool with it. And I, like you were saying about how,
Last episode.
people in the older generation
Yeah.
are sort of get shamed for being like, well, no, I'm just looking for a relationship, and they're pegged as
Yeah.
crazy. What I love about Tinder, like I said, is you can just be, that's cool. If they say that right away, then that's that. You know what they're looking for. They're not being crazy. They're telling you how they feel.
You
but
would
it's just
1,000,000 prefer someone to tell you straight up what it is that their
Yeah.
intentions like would be.
Oh, 100%. And
Okay,
that's
so
just
we
how
had
I
a
am
discussion
too.
with some other girls last episode that they were like, I mean, you can't show all of your cards all at once, but I sort of asked Erin or one of the other girls, and I was like, wouldn't you want the guy to tell you what he wants like fairly quickly, so that that, as I open quotation marks, wasting your time to get to know someone when someone might be faking, would you rather them to just be super upfront? Would it turn you off if a chick was like, no, I am trying to meet someone that I want to date?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think you can shut them down right away either. I mean, if you match with them, I feel like you match with them for a reason. You liked either what they did, you liked how they looked, whatever. And if they tell you that right away, I'm not one to just be like, oh, okay, like, fine, like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Because, like, that's, you
I
don't
feel like
want
there are
to.
people out there who do that.
And there are definitely people out there who do it. I have some
That's unfair.
friends who have done the same
Those of
thing.
you who do that, that is unfair.
Yeah.
You should not be on it if you actually don't have an open mind to new people. That's the point of this, is
Exactly.
connecting us.
Exactly. You always have my thought is you always have a reason to do something, but you have to have an open mind in case other options open up. So if someone says, hey, like, you seem really cool, but I'm just looking for a relationship, that's not something where I go, oh, well, this was a failed
Yeah,
match.
like, see you later.
Yeah, you want to kind of just like, well, maybe
Okay,
there
like,
could be a friendship or more, like, who knows.
yeah.
But that's when the other mindset comes in. But I didn't go into that situation being like, okay, well, I'm looking for relationships. It's just,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
In Toronto, question.
Mhm.
You were obviously, since you just moved to the city, you moved downtown like a month ago. When you were in Markham, how has the difference in using there compared to using here been for you?
It has been a drastic difference.
Drastic?
Difference. It's I don't
What's
know.
one of the biggest sort of in-your-face differences that you've noted?
Your radius can literally be 3 kilometers if you want, and the matches will just never run out.
They'll be
never.
endless.
It's endless. It's endless. It's.
So you obviously are
Whereas
hitting
in
like
Markham,
a much bigger population of
and it's
people.
funny. Markham's big, like a big town,
Yeah.
but it seems to be. It's just not as like. It's not as big of a deal there, I guess. It's just you're not matching with people. It's something that you notice, right? Like Tinder for me, I almost never would swipe like at home. It's a funny thing. But if I was down in the city, either at, at our friends'
You're like, I need to
places,
fire
or
it up like
I'd
right
be like,
now.
I've got to fire up the Tinder. And the funny thing is I would say, even when I was in Markham, and the grand total of people that I've met or talked with on Tinder, I'd say 98% of them live in the Toronto area.
Really?
Yeah.
When you were in Markham, could you set that radius to the city?
You could, yeah. It's like I'd say
Did your
it was a
profile-
steady 20-kilometer radius when I was
Yeah.
in Markham. A steady
That's a
20
big-
kilometers.
That's a big radius.
It's a big radius, yeah.
But knowing that you were probably going to end up here, it would honestly make sense if those are the types of people that you wanted to meet.
Yeah.
And that's where they were. And one more question though: the people you grew up with in Markham.
Yeah.
Because I do think, aside from the generational gap, the geographical difference. Do you have a lot of friends from Markham who are married?
I don't have a lot of friends in Markham who are married yet.
Okay.
I have one of my best friends who's been with his girlfriend since grade 10.
Shout out. Hey,
Alex
bestie.
Chernopoulos, Nikki Proctor.
We love you.
They live together now in a house.
Yeah.
So that's a huge, for me, I'm going like, owning a house right now.
Okay, so you're 24
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
At my age or older, there are a lot of people who get married at 24, 25.
Yep.
To them, that's, again, normal. Hate that word. But then, now that I'm sort of in an older-ish demographic, I still feel super young, by the way. Like, I do not feel my age, but whatever.
Definitely not old.
Still feels okay, I appreciate that. It's so nice. So nice. Any compliment, you take it. That having gotten married at such a young age sometimes, and people get into some new things, and everyone continues to change as their life goes on, circumstances arise, people are getting divorced at early 40s, which now is like dating in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Which in your 30s is like dating in your 20s, but now that I'm talking to you, I mean, I don't know if I would be able to say flat out to a guy that I'm interested in a relationship, like right away. That would scare me. But having talked to you and you're younger, because I fear the judgment coming from a younger demographic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're telling me that you don't really have that judgment there, when you would almost prefer it, I've never really heard that before.
Yeah, no, I can't, like, in my eyes, I can't blame a girl for wanting something serious and wanting a relationship. It's just right now.
Would you more or less hate it if a girl beat around the bush the whole time?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
made it seem like it was something else than it was.
Right, and it also works the reverse way too. Like, I've had a couple girls tell me straight up that they're just looking for something casual, and then we've hung out, and then all of a sudden we go, a couple days without texting, and I get these angry texts saying, you're a real whatever because you didn't. And I was just like, well, listen,
we can swear.
Yeah, I was like, you're a real asshole, and I was like, I'm not. Like, I thought we established this. We're just kind of like going with the flow, and then they'd be like, well, yeah, that's what I thought, but I figured like that was changing after we like hung out the third time, and I'm just like, well,
are there rules like
that's
this?
what I'm saying. There's like,
I guess there are.
You're just supposed to be able to like,
I fear
chill
the
out.
rules, man. I do fear the rules. Like, not rules, but the societal rules now that come along with dating and apps instead of meeting someone organically, just like out on the street, which, by the way, still happens all the time too. But I think a lot of people spend a lot more time doing this because, again, we've talked about how it's like that immediate satisfaction.
Yeah.
The confidence of being behind a keyboard, being able to say things that you wouldn't. But you like to use it, but you've never thought that you couldn't meet someone, like, your personality is a strong suit for you, you feel, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so you don't rely on Tinder to get yourself for your personality to come out, right?
No, which is funny because sometimes I feel like I'm way better suited just meeting a girl at a bar, like a social environment, which is funny because I've always said, and like in discussions with, my groups of friends and stuff, that Tinder is for the downtime, and when I'm like kind of feeling like going out and being social, I just don't even think about it, and I'll go out, and if I'm
Yeah,
at a
you're
bar
not
with some
checking it
friends,
when you're out at the bar. I
because
feel
I'm
like a
not
lot of
really a
people
shy
check it out at the
person
bar,
either.
though.
So yeah, and the idea of still the main idea of actually running into a girl in person when you meet her for the first time is way better than maybe meeting someone from swiping. But then when you're swiping and you meet someone cool, you're like, oh, you
You're
know
like,
what?
oh
This
my
is
God, it's
yeah,
the same feeling,
yeah,
right?
it's
That you're still meeting someone super cool
yeah,
out in a public place. But I find that it sort of takes a little bit, actually quite a bit of that stress away before you meet in person because you've spoken already behind a keyboard. That's just for me. I too feel as though like my personality is probably received better in person. But then again, talking through Messenger as well first, or talking through Tinder or Bumble, do I want to waste my time meeting you in person? I'm hoping that you can. But I also find that I text the exact same way that I talk.
yeah.
Do you change any of your
No,
texts in that sense to
no,
sound
I'm
like maybe a little bit more educated, or maybe using a little bit more sports terminology so that you sound a little bit more like, so that the person gets the idea that you play a little more sports? Like, do you change anything, or do you literally just act the same way?
no.
all the time?
I'm from what I can. Yeah, I like to think that I just keep it the same all the time. I'm like
You want to.
super just comfortable with my personality, so I just think that I don't need to change it to text somebody. I feel like I'm generally pretty good at getting the personality going, especially like just on Tinder. Like I'm pretty good at establishing what I'm like right away.
Yeah.
Unless what really bugs me is when, say, there's a girl who will message you first, be like, hey, what's up? And then you start a conversation and then you feel like you have to drag answers out of her.
Because then it's just like that interview, right? It's that interview setting where you're sitting there going like, question, answer. Now you ask one. Question, answer. Now you ask one. If you should be able to feel that through just the initial interaction over text, should you not?
Yeah.
If the conversation would flow in person.
100%. 100%. It's
I definitely would. I definitely want to feel that through messaging first
right.
before I'm going to meet up with you.
That's a huge telltale sign, I think. If it's like, if you're dragging a conversation out of this girl because she's so dull, I mean, how are you supposed to have one in person? I feel like it's
So you just kind of know
next to
at that
impossible,
point as
yeah.
well. Generational difference.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of friends that are on Tinder, male and female,
Yep.
who actively meet up with people, who don't have an ultimate goal of getting into a relationship, but that's where they would like to be headed. So they want to speed that process up too. They want to meet people more easily.
The funny thing is, Carrie, actually, this is funny actually. I used my first ever super like on Tinder.
Okay, so a super like, explain to those
Yeah,
who
so
may
a
not be
super
on
like
Tinder.
is you get, I guess, one a day. I think how it is.
As
I'm
a
not
man,
sure.
can a woman give those?
Yeah. Yes.
So you get one super like a day, so
Yeah.
you can like anybody, but you can only use one on one person.
Right, on one person. So you wanna pick that person very carefully.
What a
So,
thorough decision.
yeah, and
What a really, really intense decision to make.
I remember. Yeah, and I remember using it probably like this. This was within 2 weeks of getting Tinder.
Okay.
And
you're like, I'm gonna use it on this girl.
I used it on this one girl.
You took it
Sure enough,
seriously?
we started talking. We matched within, I don't know,
Couple
say an
minutes,
hour or whatever.
Okay.
And started talking. We actually it was around Christmas time. We went out for like a coffee date, and obviously I was still somewhat, very fresh out of a 3-year relationship. And I'm not thinking.
But very fresh out of a relationship can mean different things. One, were you raring
Good
to go
point.
to have fun, or were you so hesitant because you still have that lingering shit from your last one?
No, it's funny. I'd been raring to go for quite some time at the end of my relationship, to be honest. But there was still the fact that I didn't want to put myself in a position to jump into anything else anytime soon, because
So raring to go on the casualness of what could be.
right. And so on this date, we had an awesome time. It was really like it.
Did you ask her out on a date or did you say let's hang out?
Oh, I asked her out on a date. I asked her out
You
on
said,
a coffee date.
I'd like to take you out
Yeah,
on
I
a
was
date.
like, "Do you want to meet up for a coffee?"
Oh
or
my
something
God, guys,
like
that
that.
never
It was a day date.
happens. That
It's a day date.
never. A day date?
Yes.
Weren't you worried about getting thrown in the friend bank? P.S. I heard that's a rule too, guys.
Well, no, because we
That,
met on
like-
Tinder.
Okay, so you already. Okay, so
Right.
you're both in the same mindset.
So the coffee date was great. I
Like better than anticipated.
went much better.
Wow.
Much better. I thought she was
Was she
gorgeous.
hotter in person?
She was.
Wow.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. And we
He
even
held his breath there.
we
because
even
she was
left
that
it,
hot.
you know, like, hey, I'd love to do this again. Like, would you be down? She was like, yes, 100%, and that was great. And then all of a sudden, I didn't hear from her for like the rest of the. We had like one text back and forth or something like that, and then I didn't hear from her for like a day. And obviously, I'm not gonna, message her because
You'll give it
trying
some
to play it cool. And at this point, I'm not thinking I
right.
just want to hook up with her because this is my first real Tinder experience.
Yeah.
And
You didn't want to overstep any boundaries
no, not at
or
all.
create any kind of reputation for yourself.
I even phoned a couple buddies being like, man, this is really cool. Like, Tinder's awesome. I just met this really cool girl and we just went on a couple dates,
Yeah.
or a date for a couple hours. And
And it was
next
so
thing
good.
I know, the next day I get this message from her on Tinder telling me that she's deleting Tinder and she's not ready to see anyone. And then just gone. I didn't get a second to like message her back or anything.
Oh no.
She was gone and I was like, oh my God, that really sucks.
Like
And
just
then-
like that.
And then after that, I was like, see, that's why you can't use Tinder for a serious thing. Yeah. And that's
Wow.
when I started to really like, okay, I'm going to establish things maybe before we meet up or like,
That was your learning
that
experience.
was a main learning experience for sure.
Wow.
And in a weird twist, I just saw her back on Tinder probably 2 weeks ago.
Holler.
Yeah.
Would you reach out now?
No,
How
I
long?
wouldn't.
So it's probably been like what? She was the first one, so it's been like 6 months.
Yeah, probably about 6 or 7 months. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I just
A little bit heartbroken though, eh? So you get it.
it's
You get how it feels?
yeah.
That even though it's just a little technological device in your hand, that somehow it affects some kind of feeling inside of us that we shouldn't even allow it to do, but it does. And it is not a one-sided thing. I also don't think, that is not a generational difference. Like,
Hmm.
I haven't had any real guy friends that will admit that they've, been a little bit disappointed in something. They've just said, oh, well, whatever, moving on. Like, you can't take it too seriously at first. You can't take any of it really that seriously at first. It's just a
Yeah.
means to connect people, and then you go from there.
Exactly.
I have another question. Because we're at the 25-minute mark, and I need to ask this. Have you encountered, since moving to the city, any uncomfortable situations?
Very recently, actually. My most recent experience has been
So your very first
uncomfortable.
experience was a little dramatic,
Yes.
and this one's now a little
Yeah,
dramatic.
definitely in a different way.
Okay.
So I've actually I've met up with a few girls since I've been in the city on Tinder, and it's been
Yeah.
really fun. And the most recent one, I met her 2 nights. I've only hung out with her on 2 nights, two separate occasions. And just, I guess, starting Canada Day, I started to receive a mass chain of consecutive messages from her.
Now, when you hang out on 2 separate occasions, sorry, I just want to stop you there.
Yep.
Are you taking her out and wooing her to get to know her? Was she, I require some of that before we can get to know each other? Or did she put it out there right off the bat that she also wasn't into anything serious? Or is she looking for something serious? Like, what was her, what did she give you?
This is funny
What was
because
your impression of her?
we were on, and this is one of the things that I like about Tinder is she's one of the ones where I told her up front what I wanted because I didn't want her to get the wrong idea.
You don't wanna
She
break
said
any
she
hearts, yeah.
said she was in the same boat, kind of just moved here from Ottawa within the last
Ugh,
few
I feel like
months.
so many people say
Yeah.
that they're okay with it.
Yes.
And that's when I want to be like, why? If you're not, just say
Just
you're
tell
not
me.
okay with it.
Just tell me exactly, and it has led to
And any guy that shames you for that isn't the right one anyways.
No.
And someone that understands, you might be like, wow, that was super respectful.
yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
Yeah.
So your first impression of her was positive.
My first impression was great. She came over to my new place after work. We drank wine and hung out. the first night I met her, and then probably did the same about a few nights later. Went out to a bar, and then she was out as well. We met up afterwards.
Very
Same
casual,
kind of thing.
not a one-on-one. Other friends were there, that kind of thing. And then you went home together, or then you
No, the second night other friends were there. The first night it was just us two.
just
yeah, but again,
First encounter,
super
too.
casual. Yeah, and I never got any red flags, anything like that. And this past weekend, that definitely changed.
That changed.
Yeah.
What'd she do?
So, I mean, we're definitely paraphrasing here, but there was a chain of messages starting. She knew I was at work, Canada Day.
Give me your phone for a second.
Yeah, let's go through this. Let's go
I
back
mean, I
to
feel
it.
like those out there, maybe you want to. I would like to have a firsthand view of what kind of messages she's sending, because if you find yourself doing the same, I mean, we may not know it at the time, but and guys too, if you find yourself doing the same thing and sending similar messages like this, like I hope they're not like.
Yeah, it was.
So this started just looking at Booth's phone now. A couple days ago, Canada Day, is this when it started?
That's when it began. Yeah.
Starts with, "Hey, how are you?" You didn't answer. 20 minutes later, "Because I'm down to do some stuff." You didn't answer. Less than 1 minute later, "Oh, Brandon, how's your C day going?" 4 minutes later, two voicemails.
Yeah, both saying.
So that's 5
Answer me.
messages with no response from you yet within 20 minutes, and then 2 immediate voicemails. Were they both from her?
Both from her.
What did they say?
They quite literally said, "Brandon, call me." Okay, bye.
Interesting. The next, shocking. The next text says, "Call me." You don't answer. 1 minute later, "I don't really want to read this." Wow. I'm not judging her, because she literally is talking the casual talk with you. She's saying, "Come and let me be with you intimately."
Right. And you
in
know, it's
different terms.
and that's what's funny is, again, going into it, I'm thinking, yeah, that's something I'm looking for. But then when it's so aggressively approached by her, it's just like, okay, no, I need to back off.
You're not looking to use
No,
women
not
in
at
any
all.
way.
Like, not at all.
Not at all. That is not within your at all. But you are 24. You have made it pretty clear that your mind is not 5 years down the road, which is exactly what you're doing. And like, I don't find there to be anything wrong with that. Booth's personality, guys, if you're listening to him talk, I'm sure you can already tell. Like, he's really not like you're the opposite of disrespectful. I'm not popping your tires, because you obviously use apps for different reasons than I think a lot of the demographic that I know, and that's probably what I would be looking for now. So you finally answered and said, "I'm at work."
Yeah.
This is 11:38 p.m. You said, "I'm at work." And then you asked her if she was hammered.
Yeah.
Her next message to you 1 minute later is, "When do you have time for me?" You obviously don't answer. 12 minutes later, "Are you off work yet?" 4 minutes later, "Oh my God, my friends are pissing me off. Come rescue me." Still no response from you. And then you wrote back so now we're at midnight.
Yep.
You wrote, "I'm at work!" Exclamation point. To make it clear.
Yeah.
1 minute after that, she writes, "When are you off?" 2 minutes after that, "Come on, we'll have fun." You asked her again, "Are you drunk?" She says, "No, I'm not, unfortunately, LOL. When are you done work? This is now 12:20 a.m.
And let's be clear, I'm not asking her if she was drunk, because
You're just you're assuming that
I'm going, listen, you're drunk. You need to rethink what you're doing right now, because
it's message after message
Yeah.
after message after message. Like,
yeah.
I mean, a conversation is one thing, but a lopsided, oh, Brandon, okay, if you guys can't see his phone right now, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 almost paragraph texts from her
Straight, consecutively.
with no response that lead all the way to 2:55 p.m. the next day. And she, after writing in her text, "No, I'm not drunk, unfortunately," she then writes, "Yeah, I'm the worst drunk with texting. I'm really sorry. I'm actually really nice. I'm so sorry." And then again and again and again and again and again.
And then last night,
What do you do?
same thing repeated. And
Ladies, gentlemen, wait for a response. I don't want someone to be so heavy like that
No.
on me that when I am, like, I need you to be secure in knowing that I'm going to answer you when I can answer you.
and like I said, I never got the insecure, clingy vibe from her at all. I mean, I just thought,
She's going, please, let's have fun. I'm being stalked. Help me. Legit, I've been drinking wine. I'm super horny. Like, this is crazy. I'm not saying crazy because I don't want to judge her, but if a gentleman did this to me,
right.
I'd be alarmed. Like, red flags everywhere
Yeah,
going up.
and all your friends would know because it's something that you don't see often. I mean, sometimes you get a message like maybe 3-4 in a row. I've seen that happen before. People have said that, and that's a red flag to them. This is quite literally, I believe, the last string of texts. Once I broke it, there's a portion there where I kind of intervened and said, yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was a little taken back by all this.
You did.
There was
You
then
said
20 or 21 straight messages from her before I said, sorry, this needs to stop.
This needs to stop.
Yeah.
And the message you wrote indicating that you aren't interested is very respectful. I'm sorry too, but I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah. I mean, there's no need, like
Yo,
your opinion, right? There's
would
no
be-
need for me to be
I would be very
rude
alarmed.
or disrespectful to her, but and
This is the first time this has happened to you since you've moved to the city.
oh yeah,
Everyone
and
else has been like, they get it, or I'm sure someone has phased out a little bit on you too, and you get it.
Mhm.
That you really don't know what you're going to be getting.
no, that's the
This is the point of
funniest
it,
thing.
I guess, though, right?
But I was gonna say, but that's also kind of exciting. I mean,
Generational
yeah, it's
gap.
and I'm definitely at the
my
point right
generation,
now.
tons of people in my generation, again, why we started the show, is they
Yeah.
have this negative connotation on it. I have only really heard positive things come from you to be like, this is a really good thing.
Yeah.
This is not a bad thing. It can be really fun.
I'm quite literally just making up for lost time, I should say.
Yeah.
And going through it, and if there's a bad experience, the worst thing that can happen is me talking about it right now with people like you because it's funny and
Why
whatever.
should we hide it? It happens to
Yeah.
all. I feel like it happens to everyone. Nothing is ever perfect. That word falls right in the category with normal. But interesting or perfect for you at the time or perfect for her at the time. And so if you had to give people from my generation any kind of bit of advice, on that note, we'll wrap this episode. What kind of advice would you give us who don't love it anymore, but we should?
yeah, I don't know. I would just say be more easygoing. I mean, understand that people are there for maybe the same reasons as you, maybe different reasons. Like everyone's different. Like you were saying, it's no one's normal by any definition. And just
definition.
yeah, I mean, everyone's on the app generally for the same reason or two. So there's no need to judge anybody. There's definitely no need to just sort of like call somebody out, be mean to anybody. I mean, it's just take it as it comes, I would say. I mean,
those that do hate, we eliminate.
Yes.
Correct?
Oh, I love that.
Gone.
So true.
You're
See
gone.
you later.
Yeah.
I have no regrets about being on it. I also dislike the people who are like, oh yeah, I got rid of it, like I hated it, or and then they get back
have a lot
on
of friends
it.
that say that. They
And-
drop it and they get back on it. We talked about it last episode because their confidence is shattered a little bit.
Yeah.
So at 24 years old, telling us that you've been doing the casual thing for about 6 months, having a lot of fun with it, you have had your fair share of being ghosted and ghosting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you think that we should just chill?
Yeah. Yeah. Just
We
chill.
should just chill.
Yeah. Just chill.
We should just chill.
I would definitely say that. Just chill.
Well, on that note, I mean, I appreciate a 24-year-old dude telling me, someone who uses it casually, that I have a lot of fear in that I don't want to scare someone with anything that I'm not up for casual hang time or casual dates or whatever. I mean, I am, and I'm not saying anybody shouldn't be. I'm just saying that, that maybe it would be more beneficial because your attitude towards it right now is it's very endearing. So ladies and gents floating around their 30s like I am, although I'm sure a lot of you still have a lot of fun on it as well, and maybe I'm the only one that's been given a bit of a negative impression towards it. The fact that I want to change it, you've helped a lot today.
I'm glad I can help. I just want to say, if you're going into it looking for a relationship and you state it, doesn't that just automatically add more pressure to you and the other person.
That's right. It's not
Yeah.
really helping
Yeah, it's just
anyone's cause.
right.
But being honest off the bat is something you would appreciate.
But exactly. So it's a
Pretty much
double-edged
treat
sword.
others how you'd want to be treated,
Mhm.
especially on the app, even though you can pretend to be whoever you want.
Right.
I want to have you back to talk about the bullshit lies that guys can put up on their profiles.
Yeah.
For us to be, because I feel like you would know with the majority of your friends on and using what some of them might play.
Yeah.
We'll save that for a rainy day.
Sounds good. I've got some stories there too.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Guys,
me.
you want to come be on the show with us? Actually, I'll have Brandon back again. You'd love to be on with
Oh,
someone else, I'm sure.
For sure.
We'll have a group on.
Spark a nice little debate.
Email me, theswipeeffect@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is up. We are going to be on iTunes so soon. I honestly am just waiting for them to approve my content. I don't think it's too racy, but it's going to take a few weeks. And then you can subscribe to our podcast channel. Super psyched about it. So, hope you guys had a good time. We'll go on for episode 4